Now, the Shock and Awe air campaign kicked off the U.S.-led invasion on March 20th, 2003. The nearly 9-year-long mission produced many highs and some lows. Staff Sergeant Josh Hauser, who served in Iraq, joins me with that part of our team coverage. Staff Sergeant, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Petty Officer Wilkin. You know, for those who have served in Iraq or even followed the war over the years, its end marks some bittersweet emotions. Here's a quick look back at the timeline of events as we mark the end of the war in Iraq.
In March of 2003, U.S. forces began an aerial bombing campaign described as Shock and Awe, striking targets in the Iraqi capital and elsewhere. Ground forces crossed the border into Iraq from Kuwait. Their main objective was Baghdad, and in less than a month, Saddam Hussein's regime was toppled. The ousted dictator himself was discovered in hiding in December of 2003. Then it was on to stabilizing a country now infested with a growing insurgency. Places like Nasiriyah, Sadr City, and Fallujah become well known in American households as the fighting unfolds. Iraqis head to the polls for their first free elections in late 2005 to vote on a constitutional referendum and government. But in 2007, a surge of thousands of troops are ordered into Iraq to quell the growing violence. The surge proved successful, especially in places like Iraq's western province of Anbar, where Sunni tribesmen, some former insurgents, begin working with the U.S. forces to defeat the terrorists of a new organization called Al-Qaeda in Iraq. The Anbar awakening allows U.S. forces to focus even more of their efforts on training Iraqis to provide for their own security, an increased effort to recruit and train Iraqi defense forces. By the end of 2007, Iraqi police and troops begin to emerge at the forefront of security efforts. 2 years later, U.S. troops begin a gradual drawdown, all the while continuing to train a new Iraqi force. The new force provides security across the country for a new round of parliamentary elections in early 2010. Even under the threat of violence from a dwindling insurgency, more than 60% of Iraqi voters head to the polls. In August of that year, an end to U.S.-led combat operations is announced. 1 year later, in October of 2011, based on a new security agreement between the United States and Iraq, the president announces all U.S. troops will depart the country by the end of the year.
Now, just some fast facts about the mission in Iraq. More than 1.5 million Americans have served in Iraq. Nearly 4,500 were killed in the conflict. More than 30,000 were wounded. About 144,000 troops were on the ground when Commander-in-Chief Barack Obama took office back in 2008. There are now about 5,500 troops left. And also, during the surge back in 2007, there were about 160,000 troops on the ground there. So to look at that and think about today, where we're down to 5,500, 5,000, it's an incredible feat.
We've certainly come a long way. Now, you were on the ground in Iraq during that surge. What's it like for you looking back 4 years ago and now knowing that you helped accomplish the mission that's winding down today?
Well, I've been talking with a lot of friends the past few days that I served in Iraq with, and it's just incredible. There's a sense of accomplishment. There's also a sense of sadness for those who didn't return with us. But I was in Iraq in 2005, and I can tell you that 2005 and 2007, when the surge took place, they were two very different places, and it continues to get better there. And I know that today it's a very different place as well.
Yeah, and no doubt thanks to the work of you and your fellow Marines in the Army and Air Force. Thank you, Staff Sergeant, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks very much. You're welcome.